Hey everyone, welcome back to Couch Critics, the Real Talk podcast. I am your co-host Josh, alongside...
This is me, Dave. How you doing, Josh?
I am doing really well, Dave. We've had a lot of interviews of late. It's kind of nice just to have a freewheeling kind of episode where we just talk about shows.
I
and
feel
movies.
like I don't know what you've been watching. That's not true, because you broadcast synopsis and rundowns of everything you've watched.
I do.
I guess I could go back and listen to your human hibachi stuff or whatever. Anywho, but I still think, this is freewheel exchange is miss.
Yeah.
I miss it in my week.
Well,
I love our guests. I love our guests. Last week, Will was
100%.
amazing.
We've had great people on. We have great people coming up. But there is something that, like the posts that I make and just me talking about something, it misses that conversational aspect to those things we're watching. And that's where the fun lies. So I hope people get that we're doing this because it's fun, not because I think I'm important.
Yeah. Or that there's anything to come of it. This is just us documenting. This is our record that we existed. And we
existed at some point, right?
We might not have mattered, but maybe we mattered.
Yeah, but maybe we did. That being said, let's start with, what do you have to kick us off today?
I do want to say, last week, I just barely we touched on, I've been rewatching My Name is Earl, which is a show from 2005. Phenomenal show. Anybody who doesn't know, if you didn't hear last week, it's a very good, you'll feel good watching it. It's got just great writing. Greg Garcia made it. Jason Lee, I love him. Ethan Suplee. Whole cast is phenomenal. The show is just dumb enough to be very funny, but smart enough to be very smart funny. But anyways, in that, the reason I got to that, I realized, was I started a show called Justified, which I had never watched. It's a Timothy Olyphant show. I think he did it after Deadwood.
Deadwood came. Good things. I love Deadwood, and it is after Deadwood. It is
after, and I think they rebooted it or brought it back very recently for a movie. But anyways, he plays a U.S. Marshal or something, trying to track people down. I watched the first episode just by itself. I don't know why. I was on Hulu and ran across it, and so I watched it. In watching that, it started making me think of Timothy Olyphant. Now, recently, and a few weeks ago, we talked about The Girl Next Door. A movie they made in 2003, 2004 about high school kids who want to make a porno. And anyways, he's in that. He's a shyster. I watched Go with Sarah Polley quite a while back, and I'm like, Timothy Olyphant's career is phenomenal. But then I keep thinking of Timothy Olyphant and laughing, and I realize it's because he had one episode, one little bit in My Name is Earl, which yeah, if you don't know, that's a very good episode. I think it's Sold or Stole Dad's Car, whatever it is,
about the season, Mustang. Yeah,
and it's so very good. His character is so funny, so I keep picturing that. I realized that watching one episode of Justified, which is the show I've never seen and want to watch, actually drove me to watch My Name is Earl, like the first couple of seasons, rewatching them for the 1,000th time, just because I was associating Timothy Olyphant. Does that make sense? And so instead of watching a new show that I should watch, I rewatch something that I've seen so many times I can quote it. But
my wife gets on me about that all the time, because I make weird connections. I see something, it reminds me of this random other thing, and then nope, now that's where I'm at. That's it. I just went that way.
Yeah, which it's very much so. It's funny how the brain works that way. And right. I even though I know that's not him, that's how I'm going to picture him all the time.
The last time I did watch My Name is Earl was a similar situation. I don't remember her name, but American Housewife, that TV show with Julia Butters and Diedrich Bader. And I had started watching that, and I kept seeing her, and I'm all, she's in that really funny David Arquette episode of My Name is Earl.
My Name is Earl.
I need to go watch My Name is Earl.
Then you wind up rewatching the whole thing.
And the problem with My Name is Earl, because Greg Garcia is so funny and his humor is so accessible, like you said, I end up watching, I don't watch all of his stuff. I don't end up watching Guest Book or Sprung, but I will end up watching Raising Hope almost in conjunction, because there's such a strong tie-in between the Natesville and the
and you feel good, like we talked about last time. There's a Ted Lasso element where it just inherently you leave feeling good, and the episodes it's a serial, I guess, but it's self-contained, so you can watch a single episode. There's something nice in that.
And as terrible as Joy is, especially early on, there's always a humor about it, and there's always a growth, and it always is a happy story. It's never about the bad.
I realized that the every single character, the show was only on for 4 seasons, and there were a handful of episodes I think where he's in a coma or something. Those are not my favorite, but every single character had this beautiful arc of growth. They all
Yes,
changed through the
everyone grows.
series, and it's
Everyone.
organically, and you see it happen. I think that's
Yes.
a pretty
Mhm.
amazing thing. So,
Yes.
anyways, I
Yeah.
only wanted to bring that up because I was supposed to watch Justified. Instead,
That's the
I watched
reason
one
why.
episode and then fell over to something totally different that
That's the,
I've seen
and
too many times to count.
yeah, and everyone knows that's listened to us for any amount of time. Dave is the TV show guy. I go to Dave for TV show recommendations, um, because I have this habit of watching one episode, going, "Man, that's a really good show. I should watch all of it," and never watching a second episode.
Right.
And you'll see that as we talk a little bit today. I've done that a couple of times. But yeah, my name is Earl. I do want to watch Justified. Justified has been on my list for a long time.
It was good what I saw.
Yeah, is there some? Does Justified? What's the one that has to do with the trains?
That's Hell on Wheels.
Hell on
right?
Wheels, different show.
Different show completely, but I also kind of want to check that out too. It looks really good.
Those two were on my list, and they get conflated because they were on at a similar time.
Exactly, 100%. And for reasons that you in your brain you think they're both good, which they probably both are good. I've only seen one. And I've only seen one episode of the one because I keep watching stuff I've seen 1,000 times instead. But anyway, so I just wanted to bring that up. I do know I have a side note, which I think we talked recently about the early Ron Howard movie where he steals a car. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It was very hard to find. Eat My Dust. Did you find that movie? Because remember I said
I did. I found it and I watched it.
Yeah. How did you find it on Prime?
I'm just
curious because I tried it.
I went to Amazon itself, like I was going to buy the DVD, typed it in, and found it that way, and added it to my watch list from there. Then went to my TV into my watch list.
Clever girl.
I went a real roundabout way, but you're right. Just typing in "Eat My Dust" in the player into the Prime app.
Mm-hmm. And you can try it with every variation, capital letters. There's an exclamation point. You can type it in saying Corman, since Roger Corman's a part of it. But I realized when I had that conversation before, I neglected to mention one of my favorite bits of it, which is I think the first time Bill Paxton was in a film.
It does have
but
very
he's a set decorator.
Bill Paxton. Yeah.
He's a set decorator. He has nothing.
It's not Bill Paxton. It has a very young
Corbin Burnson.
In a blinking
you watched it. So phenomenal, his performance that little bit. Totally different than everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
But Bill Paxton's in the credits, and I said, Bill Paxton. I said, it's got to be a different. Paxton? It's the right Bill Paxton. He was a set decorator. It's the first time I think was on a movie set, which is
it was an excuse for him to get close to a movie.
Right. So, anyways, that was Roger Corman. That actually did lead me to. I was thinking about Trauma because we talk about Toxic Avenger, and I think, as you rightfully have pointed out to me, I'm a fool in the April Fool's thing for getting sucked into the Trauma Studios was bought by Disney hype, which I'm a sucker.
In our Morbid Forest interview with Naomi from Morbid Forest, in the preamble, Dave bought in, and I can't lay this all at Dave's feet because I absolutely believed him. I Googled it mid-show, and I'm like, oh my God, there it is.
It sounds so insane. The Google that the April Fool's joke was put out that there were stories out there that Troma Studios was bought by like Disney for $500 million. And I was just happy for Lloyd Kaufman, thinking, oh, I hope him and his partners, they get to make some real money for once. But I guess it's not true. So anyways, I guess that's...
Michael Hers and Lloyd Kaufman did not make $500 million.
Yeah. A correction on my part on that one. But anyways, all of those things being said, I've watched a bunch of other movies and things like that. I finally had a little time. Yeah. It wasn't just My Name is Earl, but what have you been watching?
My local theater down the road, one Monday a month, does this mystery movie Monday where you get to see a movie, an advanced screening. My wife and I went this last Monday.
You don't know what it is when you
don't know what it is in advance.
When do you find out? Once the title card comes up?
If you are a non-social media person, you find out when the couple of stars or a star and a director come on the screen and tell you what you're watching. In this case, it was the director and the star came on the screen and told us what we were watching. if you are a social media user, Reddit usually leaks what the movie is. Um, that
Spoiler
being
alert.
said, yeah, you can find out in advance. I did not know what we were watching, so I knew what the rating was, that it was PG rated, and that was it. That's all I knew going in. I knew this was going to be
Okay.
more of a family movie. It was PG rated. But we get there, and it's a movie called Sketch.
It sounds sketch to me.
Sounds sketch. It is a family movie. It's this young family where with Tony Hale plays the dad. The mom has recently passed away, and it's the family all in their own way dealing with the grief and the loss. Um, there is the daughter draws everything. She draws these weird monsters and stuff, and they end up anything that goes into this magic pond comes to life, and her pictures start coming to life.
Oh wow.
Um, I didn't exactly
So it's
love
not a
the movie.
documentary, though. It's
It
not a
is
true
not a
story.
documentary. It's not
Okay.
true. It's
Sorry.
not true.
Go ahead. Don't mean
It
to.
is. I rated it 2.5 out of 5. Anybody that follows our social media will have seen that. But the one caveat I put out there, while I didn't like it, I thought that because a lot of family movies will have an adult storyline that runs through, right? This one I think misses a lot of that adult storyline. It's not
Pixar
built in.
perfected
Not fleshed out.
that art of
Pixar does an
giving.
amazing job, absolutely. This was missing a lot of that, so I didn't have anything to cling on to. That being said, if you have children ages 8 to 12, they will love this movie. It's pretty, it's fun, it's unbelievable. Highly recommend it.
I think Robert Rodriguez's, let's say, kids movies or family movies, I think also hit that same miss, where they missed the
Yes,
parent, the element that's specifically for the parents, even if there are a couple
because
of jokes and stuff thrown in there.
who brings the child to the movie? It's the parent.
Yeah.
You got to hold me somehow.
Yeah.
And I think this movie missed on that.
That's too bad.
It still had really fun points. I love the idea, and I do think kids will enjoy this movie.
Okay.
So
didn't you saw it with your wife? Did your wife like it? You said
she liked it much better than I did.
Okay.
I think she went on and replied to my post, and I think she gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay, so look at that.
There wrong, you asshole! It's this.
Well, she says that all the time anyway, so it's
yeah, she does. That's why we talk, so I don't get called an asshole and told I'm wrong.
The mystery movie thing is a funny concept to me. I don't know, like I'm so particular about my time.
The next Mystery Monday is on the 11th, so about a week from when we record this. And it's only $5, so why not go? It's $5 to go see a movie on the big screen.
That see it early, potentially.
Mm-hmm. And you're always going to be seeing a movie a couple of weeks before its actual release.
Is it focus groupy? Do they have like comment cards? Are you supposed to say anything about it? Just
nothing. I think the purpose for this is they really want you to then go out and spread it on your social media to your family and drive people back to the theater.
Grassroots commercialization.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the twice that we've done it, I haven't liked either of the movies. I got to see Jurassic World Rebirth and this one. Haven't been great movies, but the experience is awesome, and I love the big screen. I like going to the movies. That being said, tomorrow, the day after we record this, I get to finally, for the first time in my life, see what I quote to anybody who listens as my favorite movie ever made on the big
Schindler's
screen.
List? Oh, what is it?
No, I already saw that on the big screen.
Sunset Boulevard?
Sunset Boulevard is playing at my local theater on the big screen. I'm seeing it tomorrow night.
Oh, man.
I'm taking Danica, my youngest daughter, who is also a movie fan. Her and I are going to go watch it.
So amazing. Absolutely so amazing.
Excited to see that on the big screen. So freaking excited.
I know. I feel like, it's cleaned up. It's a new digitally enhanced version. They added stormtroopers and stuff like that.
Right.
Or is it just
all the walkie-talkies instead of guns.
Yeah.
No, it's presented by TCM, so I'm sure there's going to be an opening thing with Mankiewicz, who I love. We love. He's no Robert Osborne, but he's as close as you could get.
Oh yeah, he's really good.
I love him. Do you listen to his podcast?
Which one?
The
deep dives. I don't. I'm familiar. I do listen to the other one, the one-on-one interviews. I love that one.
I love that one too. I just listened to his Eli Roth episode.
Oh, very good one. Yeah, that's very
But
good.
no,
Very good.
the other podcast that he does is called The Plot Thickens. This whole season, multiple episodes, is all about the movie that nearly killed his uncle, Cleopatra.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen the
He goes
commercials
into
on
the deep
TCM.
dive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only listened to the first episode. He talks with his cousin, the daughter of the hell is his first name? And he talks to his cousin, who's the daughter of the director, and they really they get into a lot of familial stuff. Like Dad would never even Joseph Mankiewicz would not even talk about this movie. He directed, I think she said 12 or 13 movies. I'm going to go with 12. She says he directed 12 movies in his life. In our house, there were 11 movie posters. He would not mention this movie. It was
bad experience. Yeah.
There was so much that happened and went wrong with that movie.
There's a lot of studio stuff, the budgets, and Elizabeth Taylor, and everything was
so her cheating on her husband. Eddie Fisher was her husband. She starts having an affair with Richard Burton. The movie goes through multiple directors before it gets to Mankiewicz. They plan on filming it in the U.S. They start building sets. They change their mind. They're going to do it in Egypt. They start building sets. They change their mind. They end up in England, the least Egyptian-looking place on earth, and have to build sets. Like there is so, and that's all in the first episode. I am not spoiling anything. I love it. I will finish listening to it, but that's the big thing that I've been.
That's the bread and butter for us. This is the stuff we care about. I want to know everything about those kind of productions. I don't necessarily want. I'm a little less interested in the Elizabeth Taylor cheating on her husband, even though I know it's.
I don't care about that.
I want to hear about the studio involvement, and how difficult in the budget that blew up right away, or they were 2 days behind shooting before they'd even come on the set, like stuff like that.
She ended up getting super sick, so they couldn't even. They were trying to do second unit filming to try to stay on track while she was sick, and it was the Murphy's Law. What could go wrong will go wrong. Yeah.
I also watched there's a movie, I'm trying to think, it's part of the British New Waves, A Taste of Honey. Have you seen that?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't watched.
I'm struggling to think of the director's name, but in the 1962, I think 1962, the late 50s, early 60s was this rebirth of the new waves happening all around the world. Obviously, everybody talks about Truffaut and stuff in the French New Wave, but that same thing was happening everywhere. It was within a 5-10 year period. It was happening in Czechoslovakia, it was happening in Australia, and all those things. And then America was behind. We had our own rebirth, but it came up in like the late 60s, really. But anyways, I digress. So
Taste of Honey was Tony.
Taste of Honey, Tony Richardson. Thank you. Tony Richards. So it's in England, it's a girl, like a working class girl with a really bad relationship with her mom. She meets she's white, and she meets a sailor who's black, but they don't have any. That's not even discussed the fact really that he's black. He just is, falls in love, whatever. She gets pregnant, and then she's pregnant, and then he ships out and is gone, and she doesn't want to really tell anybody. And then she bonds and connects and meets a very gay man who becomes her gay best friend. This is 1962.
Yeah.
So he decides he's going to play like a surrogate father in a sense, and for the baby, and help her raise it and all those things like that. And then her mom comes back in the picture and stuff. It's a really great movie. It's very gritty. That style that came out in the new wave of realism, I think. It is. I appreciate it so much more than the glitz and the glamour of some of the Hollywood stuff. I just want to mention that because it went away. But there is I also watched, and again, I'm a big Sofia Coppola made some really great movies. If I'm honest, I've not seen The Godfather 3, but I liked what she was doing with the Virgin Suicides and in that early career.
Yeah.
I don't care so much about the Bling Ring.
No, but Lost in Translation, I do like.
Lost Translation, but I somehow got sucked into a documentary about the one girl who was accused of being the ringleader of the Bling Ring. So I watched that. It's called The Ringleader, The Case of the Bling Ring or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Not a good movie. I don't recommend anybody watch it. It's a waste of time. I did watch the whole thing, and I was captivated a little bit by it, but it's it's like watching the next generation complain about how the world doesn't treat them right and how they deserve stuff. I only mention that because Sofia Coppola leads me. Is AFI did a Lifetime Achievement Award for Francis Ford Coppola. And I think it was back in April or May. So it's a couple of months back now, but they put it on and I actually got to see the ceremony. Which is amazing. I think he's one. I think Francis Ford Coppola is one of the founding members uh, of the AFI, and so it's funny that it took everybody else has gotten one, all of his friends.
Long, yeah.
But I think he might have not wanted it for a long time. It might have seemed biased or something. But anyways, I watched the ceremony.
I wonder how much movies like Jack and Rumblefish, like his misses, because he had some really big misses. I wonder how much that may have affected.
I mean, was Rain People a good movie or just an early movie? You know?
Yeah, right. Like,
anyway, I still have not seen Finian's Rainbow.
Neither have I.
I do love Robert Evans' thing about when Robert Evans was a studio head for Paramount at the time, and when they were trying to figure out who could direct The Godfather, and somebody had said, "How about Coppola?" He goes, "You mean the fucking guy who directed The People in the Rain, or that damn Irish musical movie?" Like they were referencing it as a negative for him to take this flagship product like The Godfather. But anyways, I watched it and it was phenomenal. It had some of the biggest names, not modern, like, you know, we don't see Quentin Tarantino there or something else, but you saw like the Spielberg, you saw George Lucas, of course, because they're all in a group together.
They're all
Alexander Payne is there.
USC film school.
Yeah, all of these people and everything else. And it occurred to me in the little bit that Steven Spielberg spoke, and I think I always knew this, but Steven Spielberg is really just a nerd, right? Like he was always a nerd. He still is. I listen to everything he says. I wait with bated breath on every word that comes out of his mouth because I think he's incredibly wise in the film industry, which is something I'm interested in. But yeah, he's just like, he's the kind of guy who chuckles at his own really bad dad joke, that kind of a thing. And I think that's okay. But anyways, it was very apparent in that. But it was amazing. Some of the speeches, if you get a chance, I don't know how much you feel or how much you care about award ceremony stuff. They're hard to watch because it feels like a waste of time. But they do have some great clips.
I do really enjoy the insight that friends can provide at an award ceremony like that. When they talk about this person and because getting into their mindset, getting into the way that Francis Ford Coppola talks with his friends lets me know a little bit more about the man. And I enjoy that.
Right.
So
I always wonder if they think they're going to pass away soon. Because he does have a little bit of a shock and awe look on his face, like, am I dying soon? Like, is this near the end? But anyways, I try to reference that not only because it's super apparent to Steven Spielberg's big nerdy guy with this kid's like grin looking around at every clip or joke that they make, and he looks at Francis next to him on the dais and just like his little kid would look at his dad. Like, it's just funny. So it's worth watching just for his stuff. But anyways, I just want to mention that. But let me see. And what else did I watch? What else have you watched, by the way?
One that I want to talk about. There's a few movies that I've watched, but one that I really enjoyed, I'll start there, was it was this 1970. You meant, and it actually fits because you're talking about these the new wave. This was a Czechoslovakian new wave movie from 1970. It's a little bit later than some of the others, but it's called Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. It was on TCM a little while back. It's this really surreal, dreamlike fantasy.
What's her name? Agnes Varda?
It is not Agnes Varda. It's not Varda, but
no. The Czechoslovakian female director. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Isn't it Agnes Varda?
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean.
Anyways, this is directed by Jaromil Yaris.
Yeah, no,
it's this really surreal. So the movie is about Valerie. She's this 13-year-old girl. She lives with her stern religious grandmother in a little village. She begins her period, and which signals her transition into womanhood. And all these really strange, sinister events begin to unfold. She encounters this mysterious guy that her grandmother thinks is a vampire. Over the course of this week of wonders, she's pursued, manipulated, tempted, all the different things. But it really it kind of blurs reality and dream as she's resisting efforts to control her sexually, identity, all this stuff. So it's about empowering her as a woman to
In
be in charge
1970.
of herself in 1970 from an Iron Curtain country, Czechoslovakia, like big time kind of stuff. Ultimately, she she comes out, she's changed and empowered, and after going through this gauntlet of danger and stuff. So really, really good movie. Really like surreal. Nothing kind of makes sense when you're. Are you in a dream? Are you in reality? There's a lot going on, but it's a lot of. It's. I really like it. It's definitely something if you get a chance to.
Hmm. I
And it
I'm
all
a
went
big
downhill from there.
I'm a big fan of new wave stuff just because,
Yeah,
as we've talked about in other episodes, I think what was the brilliant way that Will, our last guest, had said,
yeah.
this movie had to walk
Walk
so
so that they
some
could now run. Yeah,
movies now could run, which is a
yeah.
fantastic way of saying that if this movie didn't exist, you wouldn't have
You wouldn't have the things we
the
have.
movies of today and the style that they have. The stuff that you appreciate about a modern movie has to have come from somewhere. Which, speaking of, a movie I haven't watched in many years, I watched the other day, which uh, obviously we're huge John Candy fans, right?
Yes,
Like
100%.
we're
Love it.
children of the '80s,
We are
um, and
very much
there
so.
are some phenomenal movies in there. And I think we talked recently about what's the true crime one, the soap opera one that he did,
Delirious.
Delirious, which is just mediocre. That's the '90s, but they're trying to make an '80s movie. But I watched Armed and Dangerous from,
I
I think,
love
'86. You
that
love that
sounds
movie
right. I do. I
with
do.
young
I
Meg
have a
Ryan and
Meg Ryan. You have Eugene Levy. I have a soft spot in my heart for that movie.
okay, explain.
Tiny Lister.
Yeah, Tiny Lister. Explain
I,
just the soft spot.
it's got to be because I've watched it since I was a kid. I mean, that's got to be what it is. I just,
Since have you've seen it a few times? Okay.
yeah, I've watched it recently.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
okay, good.
oh yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
haven't since I think '86 or '87. But keep going, keep
no,
going.
it's
Explain.
I do watch it regularly. I love that I love that John Candy is like this cool kind of suave guy, and Robert Loggia as the harsh villain, and Eugene Levy as himself really just this kind of panicky,
Bumbling, neurotic. Yeah,
bumbling by the air, by the book, neurotic. Um, there's just little thing. I love how they get away from the bad union guys by going into the sex shop and dressing up as
yeah.
BDSM characters.
They run in hiding. They're being chased, and they run into like a sex shop on Hollywood, and somehow they see two people who happen to be their same size. They get there. They must knock them out. I don't think they show that, but they get
They
their
don't
costume.
show what they
I still don't know how they all put the makeup on because John Candy comes out with drag
full
makeup on.
makeup, full
And I
makeup.
think that must have taken a long time, but
Yeah,
even still, forgetting all of that, that
but
is funny. And I think
yes,
it was in the trailer, so I remember
right,
it distinctly.
yeah. And then God, I can't remember his name, but towards the end, when John Candy's getting on his motorcycle because they got to stop the final heist of the union money, and his bike won't. His bike starts. He finally starts, and then there's the big traffic jam or whatever, and he gets into the big rig, and I can't remember that actor's name.
I
Um,
looked it up. I don't think I know. He's so familiar, but I couldn't
he's
place
super
him in
familiar because
anything.
I think he was like a 1980s version of that guy from That Thing kind of actor.
He's like a Garrett Graham of the period where he
He,
just
yeah,
shows up in a lot of
exactly.
stuff.
He's very much a Garrett
Hmm.
Graham. But when he just kind of plays off of when John Candy saying, "Oh my, come on in, Slim," and like
Right.
I don't know, when he goes and meets Cappy on the pier and he catches the shark. There's just, I mean, it was written by Brian Grazer, Harold Ramis, and
Yeah.
James Keach. Like these
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
Steve Railsback is his name. Sorry, popped into my head. Steve
Yeah.
Railsback is up there,
Good
but
job.
I don't know. It's just it's very episodic. It's very SCTV sketch related, and I just I've
So
liked it my whole life. I like it.
the funny thing is how one thing leads to another. For me to go on a slight ramble, um, I watched that, and then that led me. Um, to SCTV particularly. Now, I grew up. I listened to like Conan's podcast and some of his other comedy podcasts and things. And some of the comedians who I like their senses of humor, Andy Samberg's and Conan O'Brien, things like that. They grew up and they're big fans of SCTV. It's a big part of their comedy style. SCTV was a Toronto-based Canadian sketch show, but unlike Saturday Night Live, it wasn't done live, so they could actually take the time to really write the stuff out. I urge you, even though the material is dated, a lot of it is on YouTube. Is to check out John Candy, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Andrea Martin, Joe Flaherty, Rick Moranis, Martin Short,
and Dave Thomas.
But they made this sketch show that was what they did was they created a universe like Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, references the universe because the whole concept is it's a small public access studio in a small town, and there's all the shows that are being made around that, so that way they can interweave stories. And he credits that with the whole reason that The Simpsons came to him was that he wanted to make something like an SCTV where the town, or Springfield in this example, has all these interconnected people and interconnected stuff. So,
and he started on the Tracy Ullman show, which was very much that style as well.
Very much, where everything's kind of like a Monty Python, where it's around one central running thing. It's just very done really well. A lot of them do feel dated and old. You're not going to get a lot of the names of the people who might have been bigger names back then, but it's still there's at the heart of it some really, really smart writing and a lot of jokes that are written for them. Not even caring if the audience thinks it's funny. The audience
is funny. Yeah, it's secondary to.
So
it's where Strange Brew came from.
Well, we'll get to that.
Oh, you got lines.
I have a whole spiel. I just said, I apologize. I don't mean to dominate here. But my wife was not as familiar with SCTV, which I found surprising because she has a very similar Rick and Morty-ish style of humor she likes, and she appreciates all that stuff, but she didn't grow up on it like I did, so we found some episodes, we started watching them. A lot of them were very dry, to be honest, because they do feel dated, the video quality and things like that, but I don't want to disparage it because I shouldn't. But one of the funniest things that came out of it, which is that when the show went from like on season 1 or season 2, they only made 6 seasons technically, but each season took them like 18 months. So they don't even play in a linear 1 a year fashion, regimented 1 a year fashion. But when it went from like network to syndication or whatever, they had to cut 2 minutes, or they had to fill 2 more minutes because there were less commercial breaks in whatever the new format for the syndication was. All that being said, and Canada, where the show was made with almost entirely Canadian performers, had a new industry governmental body telling these people that they any shows made in Canada need to have a little bit of Indigenous content, something that was strictly Canadian and represented Canada. And so they told the SCTV people that you need to add this. You need a certain percentage of your show that is very Canadian and representative Canadian, because I don't think Canada had as much of a voice at the time. And so being who they were, and I think as I understand it, Dave Thomas said, well, we're Canadian and we're making this in Canada, and that's not Canadian enough for you. So Dave Thomas and Rick Moranis, if you don't know, are brilliant. They sat down and they decided, they said, we need to fill 2 minutes. What's the most Canadian stuff we can think of? And so they came up with the stereotypes after stereotypes of the most ridiculously over-the-top Canadian stuff you could think of. And they created these two brothers, the McKenzie Brothers. It is very much the point of satire. But they created the McKenzie Brothers, which was a 2 minute sketch. If you have a chance, watch. There are endless amounts of them on YouTube. They're all 2 minute segments because they were only filling 2 minutes at the end of each show. And it's almost entirely improvised, which is absolutely brilliant. And these characters were just created by them. So it became the biggest thing in Canada at the time. This one little throwaway thing. And let me reference this one more little preamp. And sorry, I don't mean to take over. But they, the very first one, because they were so pissed off about being forced to be quote unquote a Canadian
Canadian.
show, being more
Yeah.
visually and represent more Canadian. And they were like, what the F is that?
What does
They were
that
so
even mean?
annoyed by it that the first segment is like 2.5 minutes long, but it's only about 30 seconds of them doing this little thing where they sit on the couch. Pre Wayne's World. Wayne's World didn't
Yeah.
exist yet.
Yeah, not
So
for
they're sitting on a
almost
couch
10 years, 8
and
years.
they're just shooting the shit, I think, about snowshoes or something for like 30 seconds, but they don't actually make any real point. They're talking about nothing. And then the next 2 minutes is just the scroll on the screen talking about how this meets the Canadian requirements for cultural significance in Canada. It's 2 minutes of this scroll and
Wow.
them sitting in the background watching the scroll go up the screen. Very funny. So from the very beginning, it was a poke at the Canadian governmental authorities, and it was this beautiful little bit of improv between Dave Thomas, who's relegated to lesser known now, and Rick Moranis, who's all but disappeared as he pulled back from Hollywood and from
He's
from
slowly, I think, reemerging now.
Don't you miss him? Don't you miss Rick
I
Moranis?
love Rick Moranis.
I saw a picture of him where he was on a commercial with Ryan Reynolds, I think, for whatever Ryan Reynolds
Mint Mobile or something.
is. I was so thrilled to see Rick Moranis in person. It's just so beautiful to see his face. I can't wait to see him come back and do anything.
Those that don't know, Rick Moranis was huge. He was the everyman of comedy. He was doing a lot of great stuff in the early 90s. His wife had breast cancer, passed away. So he's in the
Ghostbusters. He was the dad, very well-known dad in the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids stuff.
I Shrunk the Kids franchise.
He was a huge star.
Thing. My Blue Heaven. But his wife passes away, and he slows down and eventually stops doing anything altogether and just goes home and is a stay-at-home dad, so he is always there for his kids. One totally altruistic, beautiful thing. And now he's slowly talking about coming back, and maybe we'll get to see him.
He left offers being thrown at him left and right.
Huge offers.
It reminds me of the Rodney Dangerfield story, which is Rodney Dangerfield started a stand-up career in the 1950s, and he wanted to be a comedian. He wanted to be in movies. He wanted to do all those things like that, whatever. He wanted to be an entertainer. And he started that career, got married, had kids, left entirely, and went and became like a siding salesman or steel siding or aluminum siding salesman, door-to-door salesman for like 20 years. Once his kids were old enough and grown, he went back to comedy, and that's how we got Rodney Dangerfield back. But it's somebody who's doing it for this beautiful reason. But I don't know if you craft your stuff after that. But anyways, I'm happy to see Rick Moranis. But so the McKenzie Brothers, very funny. Anybody should watch them on. There's a bunch of the clips. Bob and Dave McKenzie. The show they host, the little segment they host on SCTV is called The Great White North, which I think they wanted to call it Canadian Corner, but I think they were told not to, even though they say Canadian Corner like 3 times in that first 30-second sketch. And they keep saying, hey, we're not supposed to call it that. This is very funny, very poking at authority.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. One, they made a movie in 1983 because as I knew as a kid, I really liked them. And I thought they were very funny. They're very made for anybody to grasp how silly this stuff that they're doing is. And these two brothers who fight all the time. So they made a movie, Strange Brew, which I knew as a kid was a dumb movie, but I liked it. I rewatched that, by the way. So I watched that yesterday.
I haven't watched it in years.
I watched it yesterday, but I preempted it by, like I said, showing my wife first a couple clips, like an hour of SCTV in general, so you get the comedy style, and then a whole bunch of the sketches of these two brothers, and going through the history of where they came from, because it's funnier if you know that it's a poke in the face of the Canadian authorities in the first place. So Strange Brew, 1983, which one of the most amazing things is it has this really minor cast, but it does have Max von Sydow in it. Sydow, which is phenomenal. Like he plays, what's his name in
he's
in 1,000 things, but he plays
he's
chess
Dr.
against
Merrick in Exorcist. He's he's in so much.
So anyways, huge phenomenal actor, and then this other small cast of this silly movie, which surprisingly had better effects than I remember. Like they're dumb effects, but they're better. Like wow, they actually spent money on some of this, like stunts and stuff like that. But I digress. It's a silly, funny movie. I would say people should watch it, introduce yourself to it or for the first time, but go back and check out some of the Great White North sketches. They're very short. At least watch one. You'll get the idea of what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And then
I
check
need
out
to watch
Strange
it.
Brew.
It's been years since I watched Strange Brew.
Watch a few of the sketches on SCTV. They're 2 minutes. They're on YouTube. You can find 1,000 of them because they did one for every single show.
Yeah. So, yeah, you mentioned SCTV being 6 seasons. It's really weird, though. If you try to look it up and you want to find out, so it is 6 seasons, but it's technically 3 different shows because they had SCTV, which was their first thing, and then they had SCTV Network. It was also called SCTV Network 90 or something, and then they had a third iteration. So it was 3 seasons, 2 seasons, and 1 season under these different names. But what I was found out later was that the original incarnation, which is the longest, it went for 3 seasons. Rick Moranis is only part of the final season of that show.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even he's not a founding member, but the way he is revered is like he was there from the beginning.
Yeah. He fit in like a glove.
Right. He is that mind. And I did, while we were talking about that, I looked, so he does have technically 2 projects in the works. They're both in pre-production. They're both sequels of things he's already done. There's a
Big Bully too.
No, not Big Bully. Woo, I'd retire if that was my movie too.
I don't know. I don't hate it, but I like Tom Arnold. I have a soft spot for Tom Arnold.
I have a hard time with Tom Arnold. But he's it looks like he's doing Shrunk, which is a continuation of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And he's also signed on to reprise his role of Dark Helmet in Spaceballs 2. Spaceballs 2, I know... I
think you know where I stand on Spaceballs.
Yeah, we know Dave doesn't love Spaceballs. I have some hope for Spaceballs 2 because it's being written and headed up alongside Mel Brooks, Josh Gad, who I do like a lot. I like Josh Gad. Josh Gad is working.
So there's going to be a lot of singing in it because
he is very much the music. I hope he doesn't lean into the singing. I hope he goes.
He's like, what Spaceballs was missing? More songs.
He's missing a big musical number. I like Josh Gad, but
I do too. I like him a lot.
I'm hopeful for it, but that's what he's working.
So the only other thing,
Strange Brew. I
have one more thing to throw in on the McKenzie Brothers, and I'll shut up about it. Which is they had a 24-year anniversary special in 2007, which is also, you can find that on YouTube, I think. But it was 24 years since the movie. It wasn't even 20. It was 27 years since the first show, the first segment they did. But they called it a 2-4, which I don't know. I'm not Canadian, but they kept saying it's a very big Canadian thing. I think it means a case of beer. Like pick up a 2-4. So they call it the 2-4 special
because of who they are, the character.
And they do have a modern version of them in 2007, which is one of the last times Rick Moranis was around, really, reprising these characters. And they're funny. They have a cell phone and stuff like that, which is kind of weird to see. But anyways, I digress. I did learn quite a bit of stuff from this documentary, and I found the influences that they had on all of these people to be huge. Like Mel Blanc is in Strange Brew, by the way. I don't know if anybody knows, but he voiced most of like everything in Looney Tunes and all those kind of things. But anyways, it's maybe it's because this is part of my childhood, but to see them again in anything, I was excited to see. They did a bunch of commercials, but one thing I didn't necessarily know because I was too young, but they were a cultural phenomenon. Phenomenon. They were a big deal in like 1981, 82, 83 or whatever. They were huge. They had like a multi-platinum record they sold.
Comedy albums, huh?
Comedy album.
Wow.
Huge. And they were touring. They took over hosting and guest spots on David Letterman often. Like they were huge. Like lines around the corner, huge to see them. In America and in Canada. So they were, as people say, they were the first time Americans really saw and thought Canadians were funny, which is not my joke. That's a Dave Foley joke, but it's still very funny. But anyways, the documentary is very dry, but it still learns. I did not know the extent of how big that act was.
The whole second city thing.
And it made me think of like comedy duos. They're doing a beer drinking Canadian version of Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, they
right?
are.
In a sense, like, but I like
Cheech
Cheech
and
and Chong
Chong
a
are
lot.
doing their last tour. They had Cheech and Chong's
There,
last movie just
there's a
came out.
movie. I know I haven't seen it, but I do want to see it because I also grew up on Cheech and Chong, and it made me
Me
think
too. I
there's a
love
billion comedy duos out there who go in to do movies and things like that. And that's a whole different subject at a time. But
that is.
anyways, I brought all that up because I want everybody to pay attention to Strange Brew and to go back at
Yeah.
least and watch the Great White North stuff because
Yeah, I
it's
haven't
legit
watched it
funny.
in years and years. Like I
It's
still had a
worth
VCR when I watched it.
right. The only other thing is I saw a bunch of trailers for some movies that I'm curious if you know anything about.
Let's talk about it.
There's a movie called Ick. You probably know it's on the horror vein. It's
I
Brandon Routh who
remember
plays Superman, and the trailer looks kind of funny, but I don't really quite understand it. But it looks, if the beginning of the trailer makes it look way more appealing than the end, because then it becomes like a monster movie. But
yeah,
I thought you might know something about it. But then, mm, excuse me, there's a movie called Roof Man coming
like
out.
like on top of my
Roof
house, the roof.
Roof Man, and it's what's the pretty boy kid from the Magic Mike movies.
Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum. He's the lead in it. Kirsten
Whoa.
Dunst is in it. Some of
Keith
the people.
Stanfield, Peter
Keith
Dinklage, Juno
Stanfield.
Temple,
Look who directed it. Derek
directed Eric
Cianfrance.
Cianfrance. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I love Blue Valentine.
Yeah.
And
Blue
I
Valentine.
love Place Beyond the Pines. Like, he's
So I just had Jennifer watch Place Beyond the Pines a couple weeks ago.
beautiful movie. A 2.5-hour movie that breaks down each segment exactly into a third of the
minutes.
film.
Yeah.
Yep. So smart.
Perfect
So
breakdown.
smart.
Yeah.
But anyways, if you don't know, the trailer does look really good. It looks in the sense that like it doesn't look like something he would normally have done. It seems less emotionally driven as some of his other stuff. It seems more like, but same thing. Danny
It's
Boyle.
a biopic?
Yeah, it's a true story of some guy who was a thief,
a fugitive from the U.S. Army Reserve.
Right. But anyways, that movie, legit, the trailer. I don't know if you've seen it, but it does look good. It's worth checking out. I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm interested in his directing style.
I love Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah,
Uzo Aduba.
Yep.
For you, the Bear fans.
Yep.
Like, yeah, anyways, that's a good one. Oh, Jimmy O'Dang. All right.
Peter Dinklage.
Check it out. Peter Dinklage, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that one. What else? Any other trailers?
No, those are the two big ones. I mean, there's a bunch, but like Witchboard and stuff. I'm sure you have a lot more to say about those than I do.
I have two more. I have two other movies that I watched that were first time watches this last week. The first one is back in 1971 again, directed by Robert Fust, starring Vincent Price, the abominable Dr. Phibes.
Oh yeah.
I had never seen it before. I knew it was important. It's I guess it's kind of inspired by the 10 Plagues of Egypt. It's really kind of funny. Like, it's just like the juxtaposition of him being a brilliant organist / theologian, and like and he's horribly disfigured. So when you watch the movie, Vincent Price's character, his mouth never moves, but you hear him talk, like, so it's all voiceover, but it's verbal for everyone to hear. The best part of it though is Joseph Cotton is one of the he's one of the other stars of the movie. There's a behind the scenes story that Joseph Cotton was getting irritated because he's like, I have to sit here and memorize all these lines, and he just gets to read everything. And Vincent Price stops and says, well, Joseph, the difference is I know all my lines.
Yeah.
And just walked off, because Vincent Price was very famous for memorizing every line in the script. He knew your lines and his line. And Joseph Cotton over here bitching, he's like, but I know the line.
Right.
Like, I love that. I love those little things.
It's too bad neither one of us could do a Vincent Price impression, but
no, not at all. Not at all.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
If we could, I would have done it right there.
There are so many of those movies that are hard for me, like Red Mask. What is it called?
Mask of the Red Death.
Yeah,
all of his Edgar Allan Poe stuff.
Yeah, that I haven't seen. That I've seen bits of and stuff. That it looks like I don't know when I would find time to watch it, but I know I should. I know
Yeah,
it's important to filmmaking.
there,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
there,
my
and
Vincent Price stuff really starts with what? The Scissorhands movie.
Edward
You know what I mean?
Scissorhands.
Like
Yeah,
that's
if you
as
were
a
gonna,
kid of the '80s, that's my introduction.
yeah, if you were gonna
That and
sit
the
down,
voiceover in Thriller, right?
oh, that's right. Now, if you want just to fill in your knowledge of him, like my recommendation would be definitely watch the Wax Museum, his version. There's several versions of that movie, but I would watch his version of the Wax Museum. I would watch his version of House on Haunted Hill, and then there's one other that I'm forgetting the
he
name of
made a
that
movie called
has.
the Tingler, which is insanely ridiculous. It's one of those shock movies where this little wormy thing escapes from I don't even remember.
Yep.
I've seen it, but
Well,
and so what they did in the theaters is they would rig the theaters to shock people's
yeah.
seats for
Hmm.
certain scenes when in the 50s when television was taking over
William
everything. So
William Castle. It was William
yeah,
Castle. If you've ever seen the movie Matinee with John Goodman and Omri
Yeah,
Katz, it's based on that character, that person.
yeah,
Um,
John Goodman, like around the same time as Fallen. John Goodman.
John Goodman,
Still,
which we just
still
talked about
heavy.
last week.
We did talk about Fallen last week, which is on my list. I keep trying to miss it because I'm like, oh, we already talked about that. Fallen. It just to recap, we did talk about it last week, but it's a forgotten movie to me, and it's a shame. I think it's very good. I think it's I think the elements are all there for maybe
Yeah.
something that's not at this level of like a 7, because 7 is a brilliant piece of art, but it's not
Yes.
way like it just fell into the stir of
Oh,
echoes and Bone Collector.
yes. Yeah.
This scene. I don't know. Just throwing that out.
But
People should
the
definitely check it
other
out.
movie, if I were gonna do a breakdown, it's called Witchfinder General. It's a British movie it's a folk horror movie. So think The Witch, think gosh dang it, I just lost Wicker Man, that kind of thing. Midsummer is a folk horror.
Right.
It takes place during the English Civil War. It's a really good movie. But
We talked to Eric
his
Miller a
post
few
stuff
weeks.
isn't great. Yeah,
We
Eric
talked to
Miller.
Eric Miller a few weeks back, and he has a lot of interest. He made me think of all those movies that are based stories that are based on lore, right?
Lord,
Like
yeah.
it's the same thing, and this fits in that vein. You're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So it deals with like the idea well, he's the Witchfinder General. His job is to
Is his name really the
find the
Witchfinder
witches.
General?
Yeah. That's literally what
name.
it's about.
I could break grave with a silly name.
Yes, but anyway, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, it's gothic horror mixed with absurdist comedy. I loved it. I thought it was great. And then the last thing that I watched that wasn't like with a purpose for some other show or something was 1986's The Tomb. So
what is that?
Directed by Fred Olin Ray. It's a low budget supernatural adventure horror film. So the reason that I watched it is because of our interview with Eric Miller.
Okay.
Eric Miller talks
second
about
reference to him. He'd be like Garrett Graham. We'll keep bringing him up.
Yeah, him too. He mentioned during our conversation full moon pictures and stuff, and Michelle Bauer, who was a full moon actress and did a lot of those movies, and she's just now coming back, left the industry for a long time. Well, I decided I wanted to watch something with Michelle Bauer, and this is the first one that popped up. It is the cheesiest, the silliest, the goofiest,
in a fun way
time I've had watching a movie. It is awful. It's like it's a 1-star movie.
Yeah,
but it is a lot of fun because it's silly and it's.
But it's a 4-star experience.
It's a exactly. Yeah,
they don't have to be great movies to be fun to watch, right?
Exactly. Like the movie critic in me says this is awful. The film lover in me had a great time.
Yeah, enjoyed the experience and the ride.
Yeah, so I watched that. It's got a cameo from John Carradine and like it's fun. It was a good.
There are a lot of those Carradines out there.
There are a lot of Carradines.
Going back to the grandfather, which at some point we should try to figure out and compile a list of let's call it the nepotism in Hollywood and the nepotism in the industry. That's a whole different matter because Nicholas Kazan, Zoe Kazan. We talked about Nicholas Kazan who wrote Fallen. He wrote a bunch of other great movies. I think Matilda He
Killed was
wrote
one of
based
them.
off a Roald Dahl's book and stuff. Great writer, but like he's fortunate that his dad is one of the greatest directors of the last 100 years.
Yes, yeah,
No,
in the history of
that's
film, right? Like,
yeah, Elia Kazan. But everybody has to start someplace. John, I just noticed I watched Police Squad the other day because Naked Gun
right.
has been talked about a lot recently. Joe Dante directed 2 episodes of that show?
I did not know
I
that.
did not know that either. I did not either. But anyways, that's a whole different.
So there was one other movie that I watched because of the Abominable Dr. Fives. I know I mentioned that Joseph Cotton's in it and that little whole thing. But there is a character, Dr.
Magnificent Ambersons. Oh wait,
no. There's a character in the movie called Dr. Longstreet who's played by the great Terry Thomas. Terry Thomas, British actor.
Oh yeah, the space in his teeth, right?
Got,
I know that should not be how I describe him, but
because of that, all of a sudden I
picture him in a safari outfit all the time.
Yeah,
I picture him exactly how he is in a mad world.
Yes.
But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But because of that, I did, as soon as the Abominable Dr. Fives ended, I immediately turned on 1973's Robin Hood with the animated Fox, because he plays Little John. He's the voice of Little John.
I didn't know that.
So that did happen. I just watched. That wasn't a first time watch, obviously. But
who does Christian Slater play in that one? I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing with you, Josh.
It's Kevin Bacon, because it's part of the 6 Degrees.
There's only one other thing that's worth mentioning, and I saved this one for the last because I do want to discuss it with you.
Yes.
Which is, I don't just watch My Name is Earl. I did watch a very, very, very good movie. It's from 1950. I'm losing it. Rafifi is what it's called.
Yeah, I want to say 58, but yeah, I've never seen it. So yeah,
it's by director Jules.
55.
Yeah, because he was coming off of blacklisting. He had been blacklisted because he was pretty much just saying, "Oh yeah, I was hanging out with communists. I signed up to be a communist during while the war was going on, or actually in the 1930s." Because we were trying to figure out how we can feed everybody and whatever else, and that was a big deal. So he got blacklisted. It was this guy named Jules Dassin.
Yes.
Made this movie called Rafifi, Rafifi. But anyways, they explain what that means in the movie. It's a slang term for like rough and tumble, or like I don't know, gang, like street gangs, like the mean streets, I guess, but not quite that. But anyways, so I watched a movie called Rafifi, which is basically a heist movie. It is a heist movie. It's just like a classic heist movie, but it's so early, like 1955. It kind of predates a lot of the cliches and tropes and things that become later. It almost created some of them.
Yeah.
But it's known mostly because it's got a entirely silent, no music.
Yeah.
Very little Foley work or sound effects or anything else. No dialogue. Like 32-minute silent sequence of the actual robbery.
Yeah.
That's what it's mostly known for. But I got to tell you, it's amazing. I like the setup. I like the crime. And then the ending is phenomenal. Like it is so insanely good. And I realized I'd always heard that it was really good, but even I was surprised at how good it was.
How good? Yeah.
Yeah. And to the point where it is, of course, dated. If you don't like black and white movies, you're probably going to struggle with some of it, but you still should at least watch that sequence, but you should watch the whole thing. Jules Dassin even cast himself in the movie in a pretty major part. And I think it's in the trivia and stuff I understand is that the actor he had hired couldn't make it.
Had some contract problems for whatever.
And he was shoestringing this thing together on a budget, which does not show on the screen. But it kind of reminded me of Thief, Michael Mann's Thief from 1981. You know,
James Caan. James Caan. Yeah, I know that one.
Which, if you haven't seen that, another heist movie.
Definitely,
but it's a little more about the thief rather than the actual heist.
Yeah,
the only thing that lets me down is James Caan. Sometimes a hit and miss for me. But,
he's got some really good roles, and he's got Mickey Blue Eyes or whatever.
Thief starts with
Honeymoon in Vegas.
Thief from 1981. Michael Mann's one of his first movies. I think it's his first movie. But it starts, first of all, there's a group, and I'm always bitching about music and scoring in films.
Yeah.
And there's an over-the-top musical sequence in the beginning where they're doing this crimes from a band called Tangerine Dream.
I know Tim.
Which I think is a Euro punk band, electronica band or whatever.
Tim's,
Like you would know their music. Like they
yeah.
did the famous music from a Tom Cruise movie where he's dancing around his underwear.
Yeah.
I know.
Risky Business.
Risky Business. They do that music, which is phenomenal. You recognize it. They also do a lot of other fantastic music. I think they did some of the music in Drive, which I love also. So you have their sensibility and their style. So anyways, there's this beautiful sequence at the beginning of Thief, which I had not watched until about 10 years ago, where he's robbing a place, but everything he's doing seems like you're watching somebody actually rob something.
Actually do
like drilling holes into concrete. Like you're watching him drill every single hole, but you're also watching him clean up the dust and to do all the things that you would naturally think, and things you're like, that probably would work. Like the actual techniques that they're doing, I think Michael Mann stole that from Rafifi.
Yeah,
because everything you're seeing is insane. They're digging, they're cutting a hole in a concrete ceiling to break into someplace, and as soon as they get a small little hole, they put an umbrella through there to catch the dust and debris, and then they scoop it out by hand, and you're watching them all silent, like,
and some great
beautifully done. And hugely, it's just very, very beautifully done. And if you like heist movies, that's definitely one you should watch it, because it's a little hard to find, and I think TCM has recently had it around.
I'm gonna look for Rafifi for sure.
But I'm a huge heist movie fan. The only script that I ever fully completed that you and I talked about, and we were going to try to make is a heist movie, because it's pretty story. I think that's where, like, Tarantino first thing he really wrote was a heist movie. It's either you do horror, zombie, or you do a heist, right? Like who else writes an emotion piece?
Because it's all about minimizing locations and
getting more bang for the buck, putting money on the screen without actually spending the money to do it.
It's about walking so that later you can run.
That's exactly right. But anyways, I'm a huge fan of heist movies, and that did make me think that we should have a conversation at some point about our favorite and some of the best heist movies. Now, that's a big, broad category. I get that, but we both kind of define it. Like, we can say an Ocean's film is a heist movie. That's exactly what it is.
What I like about the way that it has worked so far, when we go into this, I love that there's no real structure. There's no like borders that we have to stay within. We define it for ourselves, and then we come in and we talk about it, and we see where we're similar and where we kind of differed.
Yeah, we're creating the borders while we're discussing.
We create them together.
I could be like, it has to be a 5-person team. They have to steal money from a vault, no jewels. Like, what would be the point of that?
Yeah, we could do that, and that would get really boring for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're very specifically searching for movies.
I think I watched Thief like recently. It was on.
Yeah,
real recent.
It's a little too much James Caan's backstory in it, but it's really good.
It has one of the most beautiful TV actresses. She didn't do a ton of film, but Tuesday Weld is gorgeous. She's beautiful, and it's fun to see Willie Nelson, young Jim Belushi, Robert Prosky. Dennis Farina, I think, is in it.
I think you're right.
Like I watched it recently, like within the last 6 months. I watched it.
At the least, that first 10-minute sequence is beautiful. It makes you think that every heist movie should start exactly how that one did.
And
wonderfully done.
And it really shows Michael Mann's what he will eventually become as a director.
Mood. I think of Michael Mann and I think of mood. He creates a mood, an atmosphere.
There's a scene when with the welding equipment or whatever, or the drilling equipment, I'm picturing James Caan with the welding mask up, and there's like a blue filter over it, so it gives it this somber tone. Like, Michael Mann is the king at that, like so good at it. Steven Soderbergh does it fantastically as well in like Traffic, but the way that they use different films and filters to film through to give different feelings and moods, so
their own look, and it enhances the mood.
It does.
But again, my rule of thumb, or my theory, has always been that I'm way more invested in material that feels like I'm a part of it. I'm immersed in this. And if things are broken with like, well, that would never happen, or no, nobody talks like that, then it's harder unless that's the intent. Like Thief and Rafifi and stuff, I watch it and like as you're talking about, he's torching the safe open and he's got somebody who keeps going up with the fire extinguisher and putting it out. But then you read it, the trivia and stuff like that, and James Caan was actually cutting into a safe with torches and stuff like that. He's like, doing these things, so that's why it plays real. Right. Anyways, I didn't mean to talk about Thief so much, but Thief is very good. At least the first, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. But the Rafifi, you should definitely check that out.
Yes, absolutely. So that's our homework then. Let's plan on. Let's break down some heist movies.
Yeah, I love heist movies. They're one of my favorite genres.
Our Heist will not be on my list.
I do love it, but it wouldn't be on my list as a great one. But I would say it's worth noting. For one thing, it's because I got to see Eddie Murphy come back and in a way that I enjoyed.
Be funny, Eddie Murphy, not be 8 different characters, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, or family necessarily, just built for kids and stuff, which, God love me, he's one of the funniest people alive.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what I think. I think our next topic should be my favorite genre, probably, which is heist
movies. Ooh, heist movies and road movies connected. Can we find some? I bet we can.
Probably.
I bet we can.
Sure we can.
Well, and this whole conversation kind of started with a heist movie. You brought up Armed and Dangerous.
I did.
Which is a heist movie.
I did. So all these things lead, man. I'm leading us on a path. It's one long curve. I laid Easter eggs and groundwork in our first show 2 or 3 months ago.
You did.
It's going to pay off in 2 years.
It's going to pay off, and you won't even see it coming.
You'll be like a twist at the end.
With that, I think we've run out of time.
Yeah, we should go.
That being said, we've watched quite a bit from crazy movies like The Tomb and new movies like Sketch to Rafifi, which is now high on my list. I need to watch, and Justified. I think we both need to watch Justified.
Yeah, if I start watching it, I'm just going to go back to My Name is Earl.
My Name is Earl again. Which I am screwed because that is now what I will go watch as I clean my house.
Yeah. Everybody should watch it. And the Great White North sketches on SCTV.
Yes, on Great YouTube. White North. And just to see what comedy was in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
And good improv.
So important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, you can find us on all the socials at Real Talk, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, TikTok, all those places. You can find all of our shows anywhere you find your podcasts. You can also go to Linktree and search Real Talk, and that'll show you all of our stuff. And check out our brand new website, Real Talk Pod, REEL, like a movie reel, realtalkpod.net. And that'll give you links to all of our stuff as well, plus more content that hasn't even been decided or thought of yet. And then always, wherever you listen to this show, please like, subscribe, leave that 5-star review. It does not help the algorithm. It doesn't push us higher up, but what it does do,
it sure does validate us. It makes us feel like we're doing something that anybody cares about. Besides my wife, we do have Mel. She loves it.
We have
Big Meanie, and he seems to like it.
So
we're doing it for these two.
That's who we do it for. And with that, this has been Couch Critics, the show where 2 middle-aged men talk passionately
about things that absolutely do not affect our lives
at all. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks.